We tend to choose arbitrary ages for retirement rather than what's actually best for us. Watch on for some differences I've seen from retirees at age 60 versus 65 and a few signs that you may be ready to pull the cord. Hey everyone, I'm Andrew, and I've spent the last several years helping ultra high net worth and high net worth investors with their complex financial lives. I'm also the owner of Lever Wealth Management, which is the financial advisor for people who scare financial advisors. And today what I want to do is I want to break down some of the key differences I've seen from retirees at 60 and 65. And the first one that I will start with is your BS threshold. I have seen so many people who I know they're close to retirement whenever they've reached this inflection point where their threshold for BS in the workplace goes down exponentially. And a lot of it has to do with just having had significant experience in their field of work. I was having this conversation with a client last week that they said, Andrew, I can walk into a meeting and within 5 minutes, I not only know what the person is going to say to me, I know how my teammate's going to respond, and I know how the meeting's going to end because I've been through it time and time and time again. And the issue that can occur from that is it's exhausting to deal with people because you've already seen the game be played, right? There's nothing new under the sun. And the longer you're in an industry, the more you realize that. The asterisk that I will put on this is many times the level of BS that we are willing to put up with is directly correlated to how exciting and deep the mission we are working on currently is. Said differently, we are willing to put up with more if we believe it is in the pursuit of a greater good. But what I've noticed is those who are closer to 65 than 60, many times that BS threshold is significantly lower. The second one that I have seen as a sign that you're probably ready to retire is you are starting to go into work because you're choosing to, not because you have to. This assumes you've run your retirement plan, all of your assumptions and inputs are correct. But one thing I've mentioned in several videos that I think does bear repeating in this is every year that you work, you are not only deferring assets that you would otherwise be pulling, you are most likely saving assets. You're getting the compound growth on the savings of those assets. And the fact of the matter is you most likely you have 1 year less of retirement to fund as well. This confluence of factors radically improves the probability of a financially successful retirement. Now, am I saying that you should perpetually defer your retirement date because you will be more financially successful? No, that is not at all what I'm saying. But what I am saying is when you have hit the point that you know via the models that you've run, I can retire and the only reason I'm coming into work is because I've decided to come into work today, it may be time to go ahead and look at that next phase of your life. The third difference that I've seen with retirees who are closer to 65 than 60 is a much higher willingness to retire because they have definable healthcare outcomes. One of the biggest reasons I see people not retire is the fact that they are not Medicare eligible. And it's a shame because there are many different ways to solve that problem. If you've funded HSAs and not spent those funds, you can use those for medical expenses. If you're on an Affordable Care Act plan, some of those gold plans do have not that high of a max out of pocket. You just have to be choosy and you have to understand where the tax credits are and your taxable situation. It is complex and I understand why it scares people. My point is these issues can be mitigated with proper planning. However, I can empathize with the fact that it's much easier to have 65 in your head as that's when I can be on Medicare. I don't have to worry about COBRA. I don't have to worry about the Affordable Care Act. I don't have to worry about health sharing, any of that stuff. I can go on Medicare. It's definable. I know we're good. And so I'll just work until that date. I get it. There are other ways to solve it, especially if you're in a position where you're either not wanting to work and you have significant taxable assets. There are ways to solve that problem, but many times people do want that definable outcome on the healthcare side from a financial perspective. The fourth one that I tend to see as an indicator that you may be ready to retire is your kids are out of college, they're on their own, they've entered that next phase of life, and they're off your payroll, hopefully. Many times your mid to late 50s and even into your early 60s, they are your highest spending years because you're paying for college, you're helping your kids. Some parents want to do help with a down payment on a house, and you are also trying to save many times the most amount of money to help prepare you for retirement. And so it just feels like a perpetual cash outflow. However, once you get past that phase of life, which it is, it's a phase of life, then many times we can settle down and we have a better understanding on what's our actual long-term run rate here now that the kids are gone. And it's much more fun to help out your grandkids and decide how and when you're going to do that. With your kids, if you've said, I'm going to pay for college, you're on the hook to pay for college, right? Whereas with your grandkids, you can say, hey, we're going to make a contribution to their 529 account this year, and we'll decide again next year. There's a lot more optionality there, I guess, is my point. The final indicator, which really doesn't have an age to it, but I think time does help ease you into these different seasons of life, is you have found your next mission, like I've talked about in other videos, or you are at least what I like to call directionally accurate on the way you are wanting to walk. There are some people in life who, from the age of 4, knew they wanted to be a musician or a doctor or a lawyer, whatever. Those people are the exception, not the rule. And I would say it's also the exception, not the rule, to immediately know what you want out of the next season of your life in retirement. However, what I have seen from people who walk into retirement and are successful with it is they at least have a idea on the horizon of a direction they want to go. And then instead of trying to make the right decision, they make the decision right. There are several different ways to handle that aspect, but understanding where you are wanting to walk towards. Am I wanting to get involved in philanthropy or my church or my grandkids' lives or help mentor the next generation of business owners? Whatever you are wanting to give your time to, even on a small scale, can help inform how joyful we will find this next phase of life. And so I would always encourage people to think critically about that. Don't think about it so much that it's just making you a stress ball, because we're never going to know the truly correct answer until we try things and fail a little bit and then try something else. But to have not thought about it at all is, I think, the ultimate failure. So if I did not list an item that you do think is important, or you have a question on any of these, go to leverwealthmanagement.com/ask to join my monthly private YouTube AMA where I answer your individual questions. And until next time, thank you all. See ya.